Roll up your sleeves, pour yourself a drink, because this is Off the Cuff. I'm Dan.
And I'm Kyle. How's it going, everybody? This week, we are back at it yet again. With a new film in theaters that we've been excited to see for a number of months. Like a long time, actually.
Yeah, we saw, it had to be at least, 5-6 months ago we saw the trailer.
At least. I remember, I think we may have brought this movie up on the cast, or maybe, I can't remember for what it may have been, but I know for sure we...
I think you're right. I think we might have brought it up
maybe
on
like
our podcast.
Maybe like a top 10 of the year, like what we're looking forward to next year. That might have came up. Yeah. I'm not too sure, but nonetheless, the movie we're talking about this week, which we just saw like moments ago, is Free Fire. The 2016, very technically actually, British action comedy directed by Ben Wheatley, who people out there might know for the movie High Rise, which came out last year, which I think was on Netflix maybe, so people may have seen it. A wider audience. He made another movie, A Field in England. He did that too, which I've seen, which is, I would say, better than High Rise. I would recommend checking out A Field in England. It's a very good movie.
I haven't seen that one, but I have seen High Rise.
Yeah, that was on our list of movies we wanted to crush by the end of the year, I remember.
Yes, yeah.
A bit of a letdown, I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Yeah, a little bit of a letdown.
And spoiler alert, this movie...
Also a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah. I'll set the stage a little bit here. Film stars Brie Larson, our girl. Mm-hmm. Good old Armie Hammer, a.k.a. Winklevoss. Shout out to Armie Hammer, I guess. Who else we got on here? We got Jack Rayner, Cillian Murphy, Chartlo Copley. I always say his name wrong. But it's a bit of an ensemble cast in the way that you get to know everyone pretty quick. And the film takes place in I guess we learned it to be a warehouse of some kind of factory. We'll try to be spoiler-free on this because there's very little spoilers, and I feel like if we mentioned it might kind of ruin what the movie's about.
Yeah, and
how it ends, more or less.
And I don't think the discussion requires us to spoil anything.
No, we won't get into that. But more or less, they're stuck in a warehouse together because a shootout occurs over argument based on a arms trade, a gun deal that kind of goes awry.
Yeah, a gun deal that goes south.
Yeah, so they're stuck in this warehouse, and everybody has a gun, and it's kind of like, it's a free-for-all. It's a free fire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you get the impression from the trailer that it's sort of every man for themselves.
I'm tired, man. This movie put you to sleep.
Dude, I guess apparently.
Yeah, it is like I gotta say off the bat, the trailer for this movie, fucking beautiful. Great trailer.
It is a really good trailer.
One of the best trailers I've seen in a minute. It's kind of what this movie lacks, and it's fast, it's well-paced, and it's action-packed, it has good one-liners. I'm just like, I saw this trailer and I was stoked.
Yeah, and the only thing about it is it's misleading because the trailer makes the movie look like it's something that it's not necessarily.
I don't know, I wouldn't quite go that far, because everything in the trailer is in the film, and all those moments I enjoyed in this movie.
Well, it like points you in the right direction, but that's like trying to direct someone to the bathroom in the dark, though. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
I don't know.
It's over in that corner.
I don't think so, because that trailer to me, like, still, it was just the same thing we got, but made or put together better. You know, like this movie still had all those elements, and like we were talking about this earlier, that like the thing that's just frustrating more or less about this movie is because like, we think this could have been a really excellent movie.
Well, it's such a cool idea, really.
It's a simple idea that is interesting. And you don't get many of those these days, especially in a film.
Most of the movie takes place in one setting, which is something that the trailer points you in the direction of. Like, you get that sense. I think the only part about the trailer, I guess, that's really misleading is the fact that whether there's sides or is it every man for themselves or not. That kind of a thing. Yeah. That maybe gets lost, and that was a detail that, like... I guess I didn't really like about the movie for the most part.
I guess they could maybe...
But I could see why there has to be sides to start with, because it's two groups. The guys buying the guns and the guys selling them, right? So I could see how, mind you, I think overall my biggest complaint about the movie, and I did think it was good. I didn't think it was a bad movie. It was a little bit of a letdown because I think it could have been amazing, but... I think my least favorite part was the fact that they didn't really dive into every character's motivation. Character motivation was like not, well, I mean, the motivation of every character, you could argue, was to get the money, right?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Or to to, I don't know, come out ahead.
That for me wasn't much of a weak point, because I felt like I really actually enjoyed every character in this movie, because I think they developed the characters as well as they could have in the given situation. Sure, yeah, you're saying the motivation wasn't there. I agree, but that wasn't as much of a hindrance to me. More or less, I just wanted to see better interaction with these characters with one another, rather than need to know their entire backstories or why.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too. Is
like, I wanted to see them kind of have like, I mean, in the trailer you're talking about how like there was no sides developed, but I could see them probably not wanting to give away that in the trailer, because maybe they're trying to, because it's kind of integral to this film in a way. But even then, what's integral to this film in terms of sides falls flat. Like, it's so. It just feels like, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's not nearly as bad as this, but it's kind of like Suicide Squad in the sense where it could have been so good based on what was given, but it was just a fucking hot mess. This is like that, but to a lesser extent. And I think it's just like, there's this puzzle piece that if maybe certain scenes came after in different sequences, or if, I just think this film just wasn't cut together very well. It needs to be faster. It needs to be quicker.
That's totally the best way of putting it. Is it wasn't spliced together super well. It was It was slow. It was it's at parts. It was drawn out.
Yeah.
In some scenes, there was a couple of things that I didn't think had a place in the movie, and we talked about this too on the ride from the theater. There's a character that shows up that seems very unnecessary.
It's like the Hulk, basically.
Yeah.
Like, he just shows up out of nowhere, so strong.
He's super strong, shows up out of nowhere, and hold on.
Looks like you're allergic to this film, Daniel. Hey, huh?
But I guess. Huh. But apparently, he's the fucking Hulk. He's got the Hulk's fucking strength. And then, fuck, I guess I don't want to spoil that part.
No, but you're trying to. I see what you're trying to get at. You're saying it's like his involvement in the film felt so unnecessary because it was so quick. And
he came and left very fucking quick. It was like,
and it was so like out of nowhere, like out of place, because the rest of the characters, like, you've been with the whole time. You're very aware of who's there and where they are at least, or what they're doing. Not to a great extent, but enough. And then this guy just shows up out of nowhere and kind of just takes the movie into a different direction for a minute. And like, I feel like that happens a couple times. Like, there's certain plot points that seem so obvious to us, and we won't say, but then just never get like touched upon again.
Yeah, that was a big thing, and we talked about this too on the ride home. That maybe there was something going on with the production of this movie, or maybe
I would beg to think so, honestly.
Yeah, like, because it seems as though maybe the elements were there, but for whatever reason, piecing the movie together and release fell flat somehow. Maybe someone got fired, someone moved on. That's weird. I don't know, but it does seem it seems almost fishy, because
it's a bit fishy.
There's some shit that I don't know that comes up and is never answered, and it's frustrating, and it's frustrating because. Well, I guess the most frustrating part about the movie is because it could be super good.
Well, let's talk about the pros for a minute then, like things we liked about the film, because I think we might be coming off a little negative, but safe to say we did like this movie for what it was.
Yeah, and I guess maybe we're being a little like we're jumping into the bad because we already know that we felt fairly good about it.
And I think we can maybe say that like the last two acts, maybe the last act and a half of this film are its weakest points. Yes, and it's for a movie that kind of should be building that tension up into a great, ending. It falls flat, and that probably is like still in our, palate. We're trying to clean that off right now. Yeah. More or less, though, there are some good things. So, like, what was maybe your favorite thing of the film?
I liked the start of the transaction. I liked when the group of guys buying the guns and the group of guys selling the guns had their first sort of encounter or interaction.
Right.
I liked that part of it the best.
Totally, yeah. I like that too.
Because it was telling of the characters. And I think that was, you got a sense of who everyone was for the most part right up until that deal. Like, or basically you had an idea of what each character was by the time that you got to that scene, which is very early on.
Right. And I think that like seems so like so instant. Like it's like very hard to do that in a film.
It came together right then and there very well.
And I would say the film is written really well. I just think there was maybe some directional choices that make the script seem a little bit lackluster in portions. Mm-hmm. But I would agree with you in that I love the fucking first half an hour of this film. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's the best cut portion of the film, and it's paced really well, and but it just takes a nosedive. But like not even like all of a sudden. There's not even like one particular moment I could say like, oh, that's when it went downhill. It's just very gradual to the point where I was losing interest.
And I guess the thing that comes to mind is when a specific character gets shot, and I'm not going to say.
It's kind of vague, to be honest.
What's his name?
Don't tell me though. But
Marty or something, or
Armie Hammer, the guy.
No,
Winklevoss.
Not the fucking Winklevoss.
Like the junkie dude.
No, the black guy.
Oh gosh, I forget his name, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You thought that was kind of like the turning point for you?
That's the moment that I picture in my head when things started turning for me.
And like
not that he was like, I'm trying not to spoil some.
And
parts.
I totally called what was going to happen with this character. I knew exactly what was going to happen right away.
And okay, so I just want to bring this up really quick because it's mildly frustrating that there's some very heavy foreshadowing notes in the movie, and some of them come around and some of them don't, and it's just weird. It's like there's heavy foreshadowing that one character has a black eye and one character has some knuckle or some scraped up knuckles. So there's this foreshadowing that, oh, he's the dude who beat the shit out of that guy, and they're gonna meet, and something's gonna come of it.
Yeah.
But there's other points that there's unbelievably heavy foreshadowing that.
Well, there's one integral thing to the plot which we kind of were touching upon before. That is complete bullshit. Why that was never brought up again. I think.
Yeah.
That would have been a far more interesting plot point in the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Even if it was
even as a subplot. Yeah, totally. But anyways, that's mildly frustrating. Okay, what else? We need to get back on the positives.
Yeah, fair enough. I will say, I think you would probably agree with me on this. I think the overall tone or like vibe of the movie is really cool.
Yes.
The kind of like a 70s sleek gangster. The aesthetic, I guess, is really cool, and like even comes down to the music. And I actually really fucking love the sound design in this movie. It knows when to be subtle and it knows when to be noisy, and all like the gun effects sound amazing, and the choice of music is really good at certain moments and helps kind of build the world even in this really confined state. And I've said it a million times over, I love movies that are in one spot where like the set becomes a character. Love that shit, and that's definitely in this movie. It's a good strong suit, but it's like. I'm getting negative here again. But
well, and then see that's the thing
it's a downfall at the same time though.
Because it's good, and then it's like, but it didn't do that. And that's how I felt about this movie. It has this fucking like, I don't know.
I guess maybe I could attribute it to maybe like when a teacher says like, you have so much potential but not utilizing your potential.
Fucking it like flatlines at some.
It's like some point. Like it's not even like I'm expecting this movie to be fucking like Citizen Kane or some shit. Like it's just like the movie is given elements that as a viewer we expect to grab onto and utilize, but it just chooses not to.
And I'd say the return value is sometimes low. Like from after watching a scene, it's kind of. After watching a scene in Citizen Kane, it's like, fuck, that was awesome. I want more. That was worth it. I'm totally into it. Well, you watch like a scene in this movie, and you kind of are left maybe wonder like, oh, that was good, but okay. What's like? There's an element that's missing, and like.
Well, I think it is. It's poor editing because it's like a mishmash. Because actually, in my opinion, there are some really good scenes in this movie. Yeah, I felt that way about that you're describing. That was lacking in other points, and I realized like that was a tight scene. That was a great one-liner. Like I like it, but then it would kind of follow up with a really lesser moment of the film and kind of jump back to some better moments, and it just felt so uneven a lot of the time. But I mean, I'd be fucking lying if I didn't say I was laughing on this movie. I was really enjoying it.
It was.
And there's certain characters I'm never gonna forget. I think there's some really good performances in this film, and. I don't know. It's a weird one too because it kind of came out of nowhere. Because it's one of these movies you weren't sure when it was going to get released here. Yada yada yada. And the next thing you know, I've seen so many fucking like adverts for it the past week, even on like Snapchat and shit.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, Free Fire's out. Let's go check it out. We're like, fuck, I forgot about that movie. Can't wait.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think we really were like overly hyped. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
We were just like generally excited.
Yeah, it was
and like, but
this looks good.
It's one of those things where the movie is such a simple concept in a way, and like it just had a really good cast, and I generally like the director. So I'm like, hey, you know, this just seems like all the pieces to a good puzzle here, and it just like didn't quite fit together. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's it. It's got all the elements, but it doesn't take the extra step. It's like they got to good and forgot to get to great.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's not that they couldn't, it's just that they forgot it. That's the way it feels like almost.
It seems like it might be one of those films to like maybe do a second viewing on, but of like the DVD director's cut.
Right, to like see what was going on.
Yeah, if there was some deleted scenes or if there's like a better cut of the film that exists. Again, this is completely speculation, but like it feels like there's something out of place.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like there's something missing, and I don't know what it is. And I think
if that's the case, then like I'd be really down to revisit it for the show. Like I think it'd be one of those shoots that look back at. And
I think especially if we did a director's cut version, that would be very cool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if it ends up that the DVD release or home release or whatever Netflix release, I don't know, is a little different, and there's more meat to it, or even deleted scenes, we could go back and kind of say, oh, okay, that was there.
It does feel like a mystery, though.
Yeah.
It feels like there's something, I don't know.
We're not usually ones to think that hard about it. Like, obviously, we critique films, so we do think hard about films, but in terms of, like, conspiracy case shit, not so much. But it's clearly there to feel that way, I think. I think we're just in thinking that.
Exactly. And I want it to be better. So I want to give it a reason to... to not be great. I want to be able to look at it and be like, fuck, that movie was good, but there was some shit going on behind the scenes, so it wasn't as good as it could have been, but like it's still good. But I want to be able to say that about it. So that's why I'm curious to fucking see.
Well, I think even we could say that to a degree because I think that we can get into the ratings here now. Maybe like what are you gonna give this out of 5? What's it gonna be for you? Maybe explain why.
I'm going to go...
Keep in mind you gave Fate of the Furious a 1 out of 5 last time, which I think was a little harsh.
I don't think it was that harsh.
I'm just saying,
I would give this movie 3.25 out of 5.
Do not a quarter. We're not doing quarters.
Can I do a half then?
Of course, you can do a half. Quarter, that gets confusing.
Well, I was thinking 3.5, but it didn't feel right. I went for the quarter.
Sounds like a 3 to me then.
Fuck you, I'm going 3.5.
That gets confusing. A quarter gets confusing. We're trying to keep it clean and simple here.
Okay, I'm going with 3.5 then. That's my final answer.
Okay, thank you. Do you need a call friend? Deal. I mean, I'm gonna, this... Well, we'll explain a little bit why maybe. Like, is this movie like...
For that reason, exactly, that it's not great, but it is good, and... I don't think it deserves much more. I don't think it there's some really good points about the movie, and then there's some points that were sore for me. Right. And I think, editing was a huge thing. Character interaction comes into play. Character motivations is something I mentioned too. But I think those things are what makes it crumble away from being a 4 or a 5.
Deal. Well, I'm gonna go. Fuck. I mean, it's hard for me to say this because that means it's in the same league. It's Fate of the Furious. No, I'm gonna agree with you. Like, I'm gonna go with 3.5. I think 3.5 is respectable because I mean, there are a lot of things about this movie I really do like, and I'm always a fan of films that are subtle but say a lot or show a lot, and this movie has some really strong moments for that. And I was thinking like half an hour in, I was still like, this is a fucking good movie. Like I have this like, fucking movie critic thing in my head where I'm like, this is going to be one I'm going to think about for a while. And then I immediately didn't feel that way for the rest of the movie. Yeah. But nonetheless, like, besides the negativity we were talking about, I just need to make it clear that I think it's still a good film, worth checking out. I'm going to go 3.5 on this one. It's definitely better than Fate of the Furious. Definitely better than Beauty and the Beast. That's where I'm staying with that.
I totally agree. But it's not Citizen Kane or fucking Shawshank or
Patterson.
The Godfather or Patterson.
I love that shit. One other thing, I guess I would just say, like, even though we were kind of hard on this movie, go see it actually, because I feel like this is one movie that not a lot of people are checking out, and I don't know. I think
it's worth a viewing. If nothing more, like
it's worth your time.
And I like to imagine a scenario like what would make this movie better.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to poor editing. And I think if whoever was in the editing room, whoever was cutting it, had maybe another like 2 hours to sit down and place things differently, we may have got a different film that would have felt a little more fresh, a little more easy to consume. I don't know. Nonetheless, this is the version we got. Those were our thoughts on it. This has been Off the Cuff. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow on SoundCloud. If you'd like to support the show, check out the Amazon Associates link in the description below, or check out our Patreon where you can send us some cash if you feel so inclined. Other than that, I'm Kyle.
I'm Dan.
Catch you next week.